Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Reed Enever, and welcome to another Business Skills webinar. I'm excited to have back my friend and colleague in the world of marketing and small business and serial entrepreneur and startup man who does some amazing technology stuff, Benjamin Dell, here to share with us how we can create happy customers and how we can, basically make the help process of creating those happy customers just a little bit easier. So Ben, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Well, hello everyone. It's great to be here. We're going to split this up into 3 sections. So I'll just sort of outline those very, very briefly. I've got a very short, don't worry, it is short, deck to go through just to kind of get us all onto the same page and sort of outline a few observations that I've been making with my team over the number of years and kind of, leading on to the genesis behind the products that I'll be showing you. And it's all geared around how we can sort of, as Linda was saying, reduce those support requests so that we can create happier customers, but also create a more efficient, more cost-effective business behind it. Because if we're overloaded with too many support requests that aren't necessarily all required in the first place, then it becomes a counterproductive sort of event there. So I'll spend just a few minutes on kind of some of the things that we've observed there and some of the things we can do to try and get out of that sort of situation. And then I'll spend a few minutes on a live demo of the product just to show you some of the things that you can do with it because it is a new product. I think we launched, when did we launch? I think we launched in December. So it's a nice, fresh new product. It's getting some nice attention. And then we'll have a Q&A bit. So if there are any questions, I'm an open book and happy to answer them as they come through. So Linda, I'm going to assume that you are going to be in charge of those cues.
Yes.
I'm not going to look at anything because in a minute I'm going to share the screen and then I won't see anything. So if you do have any questions for me, Linda's your girl, she's going to see them and then we'll go from there.
You can still address them to Ben. I'll just read them out to him. Okay, guys, and we are going to be a slightly shorter skills webinar today. We're going to try and get this done in about 45 minutes so that Ben can go to bed and get some sleep.
Oh, you're too kind.
I still made you get up at 2 a.m. in the morning, so I'm not sure of that.
There is that, and I will hate you eternally for that. But other than that, it's all good. No, it's great.
I will buy you a pint when I come to the UK. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I need to start, but you haven't given me access to share my screen. Can you do that for me?
That's not normal of us. Hang on 2 seconds. Let me just do that. I need to jump into Zoom to do that. Hang on 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Ben.
That's okay.
Have you not come in as a host? Because you technically, as a thing, you choose.
Oh no, did I click that?
Okay, that's cool. No, doesn't matter because what I'll do is I'll make you a host and you can host it.
I just clicked the link. I'm sorry.
Just click the link. I don't know because you should have it. According to the settings, you should have it. Okay, your host, so you should be fine to share screen now.
Yeah, something's happened. Okay, perfect.
There we go. Right. Ben's now the host, but I'll still watch chat, guys.
Okay, Linda, if you can just let me know if you can see something.
I can see something. We're good.
Fantastic. Let's move that over.
I love the Help Shelf logo.
Can you still see it, Linda? Because I've moved it to another screen.
Yep, we can still see it. We're good. Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Ben. I'm the founder at Help Shelf, which is a tool that as the title suggests, it helps you reduce support requests and at the same time creating happy customers. And I alluded to this before in the sort of the brief intro I did prior to this. And it is all hinged on this principle that the most businesses out there are actually handling their support in a slightly skewed sort of way. It's not totally broken, it's not totally wrong, but the way we are doing it means that more often than not, our customers are reaching out to us when perhaps they shouldn't be. They're not finding the information at the point at which they need it. And this all creates a slightly more friction-led approach with their with the company they're using, and ultimately they end up submitting more and more requests for things they don't always need to be submitting requests for. And this creates such a load on our businesses, and it's such an important time that we're in at the moment. It's the dawn of the SaaS product and the widgets and the tools that exist out there. There are so many of them that help us do some really, really crazy things. And ironically, Help Shelf is another one of them. I get that reference, of course. But I think we're at this stage where it's becoming such an overload of things that we can add to our site and things that we can do that we've actually ended up sort of reaching this critical mass where our customers just don't know what to do anymore and how they reach out to us and how they then find that information to really help them do what it is that they're trying to do. Because remember, if you run it doesn't have to be a SaaS product that you run. It could be just it could be your agency site. It could be your business site. There's probably still information that your customer is looking to do, or perhaps a job or a function that your customer is trying to do on your website. And it's often becoming more and more difficult for them to do that thing on your site because they can't find out the best way to do it through information or the help that they might need. And I was just sort of looking at a few surveys that have been done recently, and it's quite telling, sort of tying into that to sort of highlight where we are as an industry. And it's just interesting to look at these to sort of create a bit of context and a frame around this. 89% of businesses compete through the level of customer experience that they're able to deliver. And this is a survey recently done by Gartner, and it goes to highlight how critical, not just the customer service that we deliver, but the way in which we deliver it and the impact and the effectiveness of it. It's becoming a real differentiator, to the extent that company A and company B might deliver the same experience, the same product, the same process on their site and everything else, the same content. But if the support approach on one of them is far more integrated and easier for the customer to get what it is that they're trying to get done, then they're going to be the one they're going to edge in terms of that competitiveness and the likelihood that the customer is going to come back to them. And interestingly, 60% of US consumers prefer an automated self-service. So it goes to show that we're all told, telephone calls and live calls like this, or live chat and other things that are designed for people to engage with a real human aren't necessarily always the first port of call or the preferred choice in all situations. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't have humans operating. Of course, we should. I'm not sort of trying to bring in a new dawn or anything else. But it should be no surprise that we're seeing these sort of chatbots coming out and other things, because it is all this this sort of hope and this striving of businesses to try and create other ways for customers to get to the information that they need as in a slightly more effective and quicker sort of way.
And what we forget is we are human and we do need to sleep. And sometimes providing that information in a format where people can get it, because I know that I've got clients who are early birds, I've got clients who sleep on a regular basis. Running Media Connections, I can tell you the amount of times that I've seen releases submitted at 3, 4 in the morning. And thank God the online process is all there on online so that we don't have to do it. But manually, you can't be there available to chat and hold everyone's hand 24/7. So it's about giving them an alternative as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the reality for small to medium businesses out there is just not achievable, as you said, or realistic to assume that you can have an operative or a human at the end of the call or chat system at all times of the day, and even during the day that you're awake.
Yep.
You might have 20 people trying to talk to you and only one person offering that live support sort of setup. So yeah, it's kind of just being aware that actually, hang on, we shouldn't be expected to always be available in a live situation, and so therefore we need to make sure that we're providing other means for our customers to reach out to us. And with that said and done, I think another thread that you'll see talked about throughout this is content itself, because this last quote here by Microsoft is one that I love as well. It's showing that over half of consumers.
We're still on your first screen, Ben.
Sorry?
We're still on your first screen.
Oh, are you? There you go.
Yes.
I moved the window from one window to another. So let me just stop and share that.
Sorry, guys. I was wondering why I was
only showing you quotes. So it was I was reading.
I feel like I'm robbed because I haven't seen the quotes.
See the actual quote. Well, there you go. Let me know if that's coming back up, Linda.
That is back up. Yeah, we got that now.
Perfect. I dragged it from one window to another, and I thought it lost the thing there. Okay. So this last one by Microsoft is over half of consumers say that the main reason they cannot resolve an issue on their own is because there is too little information online. And this is something else that we've seen a lot of, and that is this idea that actually, even if you do have great processes and great support centers and great this, that, and the other, there is just not enough content for people to actually find the information that they need, i.e. you haven't written the guide, or you haven't created the FAQ, or you haven't loaded a video. And that's a problem. And it's something that it might sound as if it's just a problem of, well, create more content. But actually, there are reasons we've found why people aren't creating them in the first place, because which I will go into in a minute. But it's much more lower level, based on the way in which your business is set up, the culture around it, and so we want to try and encourage you and your wider team to actually create the content, so that actually there is content for your customers to find. If there isn't content, sounds really straightforward, and it is. Your customers just won't find what they need, and that's actually worse. You don't want to have these processes in place and tools that help your customers find the content if most of the time they don't actually have the content to find. They're kind of going to get to the end of the road and kind of hit a dead wall, and we don't want that either. So with that said and done, I think there are three reasons that we've seen and observed over the last year or two as to why most of us are actually quite bad at serving our customers. And they fall into three categories, in my opinion. Number one, live chat. We pretty much all offer live chat. And yet the reality is that most of us don't actually have a live chat facility. And what I mean by that is that, you might have an intercom widget or Drift or something else, and it gives the impression that what you have as a business is a live chat facility, because that's kind of what the widget is. I mean, it is technically a live chat. You click it, you click contact, and you go into a chat environment. And yet 9 times out of 10, these companies using these tools, they're not using it as a live chat scenario. They're using it as a ticketing system, as a system where someone will submit their question in this live chat sort of window, and then you will reply 2 or 3 hours later. And whilst that's common practice, as a business, we think, well, of course, we'll respond in 2 hours, and you might have a little label that mentions that. The impression that it often gives to the end user is that, hey, come over here, we've got a live chat, and so we're almost always straight off the bat on our back foot and offering something that doesn't quite connect,
because it creates the expectation of an immediate response.
Exactly, and that's and by the way, there's a good side to this, because for those moments where you do happen to spot
and you can get in there quickly,
create a really engaged customer to go, oh, cool, I've got someone replying. But actually, the reality, certainly from our experience, as Linda mentioned there, I've run a couple of other businesses, and we have support teams that run those. We've seen a lot of this. We get thousands and thousands of support tickets, but we've seen it observed with many of our colleagues and across the industry as well. It's a shame, but that is, hopefully, people are putting their hands up and going, yeah, that's us. We feel as if it's almost a pressure to feel as if we should have that chat widget.
Well, I don't have it because we can't support it between.
Okay, well, then you are being sensible.
Regularly. Yeah, and we just don't have it. And I just said we can't support it. We much rather they send us an email and we follow up properly, because we just physically, our teams are busy.
Yeah, I like that. That shows a level of control there, which is I think is fantastic.
Thank you, because I feel like I've been pushed into it and I don't want to.
But that is how most companies, I think, feel. They feel as if it is expected that they should have that. So that's one of those problems. The other is just the help content. We spoke about that quote a second ago. People have help content. If you have a business, you probably have created an FAQ on your pricing page, or you might have a blog post talking about a new feature or a new service or pricing change that you've created. You might even have user guides or just help content written up as knowledge-based articles. But actually, the majority of us either don't have enough of this, or they're too difficult to find. We don't have that common sort of support button, or to go to a support center, or worse, we have all this content, but it's just spread across all these different channels. It might, as I said, have a couple of FAQ items on the pricing page. We might have a blog post talking about a few things. We might have a few demo videos on YouTube, and that's great that you have it, but it's so fragmented and spread out that you're kind of throwing these needles in various haystacks and expecting that your customers will find them. You might as well actually, in those scenarios, not have the content at all. And the third point is that as I was again alluding to in my intro, we've kind of reached this position in the marketplace where it is just widget fatigue. There are just too many widgets and too many opportunities for us to just drop widgets into our sites. I remember doing a demo with for a conference we were putting on last year with this. As I was just talking to people leading up to it, and I was interviewing this guy, and he was showing me his site, and I can't remember what the purpose of the call was precisely. But as soon as his site loaded, I'm sure that no word of a lie here, there were sort of 15 widgets just popping up, and that was extreme, noted, but it was just so telling of I think the age that we're in at the moment, that it's so easy just to drop something in that most people, again, if they're not as controlled as someone like Linda, because I'm guessing Linda doesn't have too many on hers, then you're going to just drop all these things in. You have a Facebook Messenger thing that pops up, you have this thing that slides down saying, sign up for my thing here. Another thing over there saying, provide feedback to the site. Another thing asking, click over here to view our roadmap.
Yeah, and look, I know, Ben, at the moment, I get so annoyed with you've just landed on a website and the first thing it says is, these people want to send you notifications in Google. It's like, hang on, let me read your article first. Yeah,
and it's a shame because, on the one side, these tools are designed to be super easy to just drop in, and in isolation they are, but we don't want too many of them. And yes, our product is a widget, but we'll see in a minute why.
But I want to see why it's different, because it's obviously
why it's different, but also it is designed specifically to solve some of these things. So, I do sort of preface that. So yeah, if you combine all of those things together, you can see how we can, if we're not careful, quite quickly have a recipe for a setup that really isn't designed to help the customer. We might think it's there to help us as the company. Actually, in most cases, it's not. It might make us look good by having that support widget, but ultimately, it's not necessarily delivering the service that we thought we were signing up to when we installed the widget in the first place. And so I think, I like to just talk about these three things just to sort of keep us in check and keep us honest. Are we actually delivering a live chat scenario? If we're not, maybe we want to frame it in a slightly different way.
And I think for our members, guys, the key word here is controlled. It's about taking controlled access. It's like just adding another social media channel or whatever you're wanting to add to your marketing. It's about looking at it and going, is this right for my customer? Is it right for my audience? Is it right for my business? And do we actually need it? Because the bright, shiny object, as much as I love them, doesn't always actually give the solution that it needs.
Yeah, and we want to do everything we can to just shorten that journey. Remember, are you company focused as a business or customer focused? If we go back to that quote I mentioned at the beginning, which one was it here? 89% of businesses compete through the level of customer experience they're able to deliver. Yeah. Another way of just flipping that phrase around is that if you are a company that is optimizing for the customer, if you're customer focused, then you are going to win. Compared to your competitor out there that might be just more company optimized. So they might be thinking, well, where's the best? You've created an FAQ. Where's the best place to put it? We'll just pop it into the footer on the pricing page, and people can just find it if they happen to stumble upon there. Or are you actually thinking from a customer's perspective and thinking they might not actually always be on the pricing page when they need an answer to that commonly asked question? And so, what is your focus? So what we want to try and avoid is that our help portal, I'm using the phrase help portal there, but it could be help center or support area or knowledge base center or whatever it might be. And if you don't have one, don't worry. These are just sort of common sort of approaches, and we'll talk a bit more about how we can create one ourselves soon. But we want to avoid our help center being a graveyard of guides and documentation as well. We don't want to, as I alluded to before, we don't want to be just creating the content, but then finding that the customers are never finding it. And this then becomes a company problem, because if we are essentially showing our team members and our support team or whoever it might be that creates that content that we've got a home for it, but actually it's never going to get seen, it's never going to get interacted with, then we're not really sort of fostering a culture within our team that is geared around creating help content that is designed to actually help our customer. If they know that they write a user guide and it's just going to get lost into the ether, then you're not really going to be cultivating this culture that is encouraging your team to actually create content in the first place. And that sounds really bleeding obvious, but so often do I look at companies and they start with the intention of creating a help center. They'll create their first 2 or 3 knowledge base articles. They maybe add a video to it, whatever it might be, and then a year goes by and nothing else gets added. And that's often because they're not putting that help center at the front and center of the business, or not necessarily front and center of the business, but they're not really making it accessible. And the team see that and they go, well, why would I create content? We're not really making it that easy for customers to find it in the first place.
Yep.
And I've rattled on about this second point already, so I can just sort of touch on it again. But just, we want to make sure that when we create that content, that it is accessible and findable. And this is now a customer sort of reason, but if they can trust that help content is there and accessible and searchable and just essentially a few clicks away, then they're going to start using that rather than defaulting to submitting a support ticket in the first place. And that's one of the key things that we're trying to solve through what we're talking about here, which is to not only make sure that there is better, more accessible content, but in so doing, encourage a culture within our customers where they actually submit fewer support tickets in the first place. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, you're in a particular type of business, typically SaaS, but doesn't have to be, where you have a slightly higher volume of support tickets. We've often seen our customers drop that by 50% just by making the content, the actual help content that they, in most cases, were simply trying to find, that much more accessible.
Beautiful.
And so here are some tips to creating the content that customers actually want. And you might want to just think about these, and there are many, many more, but these are just sort of just to sort of get the creative juices going, because it is, as I mentioned before, about cultivating this culture so that you and your team feel empowered to actually create the content in the first place. So number one, have a common place where your FAQs live that ideally isn't just on the pricing page, but somewhere that is accessible. And you don't have to, I'll show you in a minute how Help Shelf can help you do that, but it doesn't have to be Help Shelf. If you end up using just your WordPress site, create a section for FAQs, but make it available on all sites. And if you do that, get into the habit of just creating a super quick title for a new FAQ item, and then your response to it. Whenever you see or come across a common question from your customers, just get it added, because it might, you need to do it at the point at which you are answering it, to your customer. If you find that you're answering something to an email or to a support request, and you think, actually, this is quite a common thing, just get it added. Spend an extra 5 minutes, add it as an FAQ, and then in future, your future customers will have that to then pull from and find. Something else that works really, really, really well is to get into the habit of announcing new changes or updates. Again, the nature of an update will depend on. Sorry, Linda, you trying to?
No, I agree with you completely. No, I can't
cool.
get the URL that I need to get for everyone that I want to put in because you're now the host. But I'll grab that.
Okay, sorry about that. Although I am in charge and I quite like that.
You are in charge and you do like that.
But get into the habit of announcing things, and that's kind of a broad sort of type of thing, and it will vary, as I said, depending on the type of business that you operate. If it's a SaaS business, a software business, you might literally be announcing a new feature or new update. If you're a service business, it might be a change to your pricing or a new service or tier within your services that you're offering. But get into the habit of announcing these things. And traditionally, what a lot of us have ended up doing is when we get to an announcement, we get to a stage where there is something worth announcing, we will write a blog post on it or create a sub page within our site, and that's fine if you've got something of apps, of more depth and sort of clout to talk about. But most of the time, you don't want to be writing 1,000 words, 2,000 words, talking about this new button that you've added that is really, really great because it's going to help your customers, or this new pricing structure that you come up with for your customers. It doesn't necessarily always need a blog post. And just like we're trying to build this habit around the FAQs, where it's this much more digestible, much easier, quicker route to create an FAQ done, we want to create a shortcut for our announcements as well. And if we can do that and then have somewhere where people can look at it later on. So think of it like an FAQ, just to sort of frame what I mean by this. But think of having an area on your site that is for announcements, that is similar to an FAQ. It'll have a title and a short description, but it is designed to be short. And if you have a common home for that, then that can be really powerful as well, and gets you into the habit of announcing things, but also knowing that those announcements will exist after the fact.
And they're
so
coming.
people can sort of find it later on. Sorry, Linda.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm thinking that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But it also
Cool.
shows a history and a journey of where that product's come and where the developments are, and from a business person's point of view, when you need to up your pricing because you've added more features. It shows that timeline and that history map of how much you've actually added before your prices, and it doesn't allow people to then go, oh my god, they just upped the price, what the hell? Because
yeah, it shows the journey and shows activity. It shows that you have a pulse within the company as well. But more specifically, from a help standpoint, you are almost always addressing a need or a concern or something, or intent even from a customer. You can imagine in a week's time, someone might be searching in your help center for a particular thing, and they might come across an announcement talking about that thing 2 weeks ago. And so it's also just making sure that you're talking about the types of things that your customers might be looking for help on. And this final point, really, really basic, but videos. Don't forget them. It's not to say that you have to be video heavy, but videos are a really powerful way to get some content across and some help information across. So don't just write FAQs or just write announcements or longer form user guides or knowledge base articles. Try and pepper it with a few videos as well. It's a really nice way of just sort of collecting things together. Cool. Okay, so I've rattled on a teeny bit longer than I planned there. So let's just flip into the product demo. So I will stop this now and just share a different screen. So let's just pull that up. Give me 2 seconds.
I can jump out of here. Yeah, I can. No, I can't. I can't minimize. You need different screens. You need to show. You've got the URL anyway.
Cool. Can you see that okay?
I can see that okay.
Perfect. Okay. Cool.
I'll take control back over later, guys, because Ben's got a special offer for anyone who's wanting to look at Help Shelf. I just don't have the URL with me right at the moment.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get to that afterwards, I guess.
Well, I can give it to you, but I just need to get into the right areas, and Ben's got control.
Oh, okay.
I can't minimize my Zoom screen while you've got control as a host.
Okay, cool. So everything I've spoken about really is sort of framing, which I'm sure is no surprise, why we built and why Help Shelf exists in the system, in the marketplace in the first place. And it's to solve all of those things that we just spoke about. It's to create a common home for the content in the first place, so that it doesn't matter anymore that it might still be spread across all these different sources. You might have, as I said before, demos on Vimeo or YouTube, blog posts talking about features, announcements doing this, FAQs talking about that, and your traditional knowledge base going into the deeper dives. In a very, very basic way, Help Shelf enables you to actually continue to publish your content in those various places. So you don't have to, keep doing the videos on YouTube if that's where you do them. Keep doing the knowledge base articles on Help Docs if that's where you do those. But actually keep them in sync and combine them all together and help create a new integrated help center through a widget that you can then deploy onto your site. And so just basically putting all of your various help sources into one place so that your customers have a single point of truth. And so that's the primary purpose, but then combined with this idea that you can then decide how you want your customers to contact you, and then also drop in a couple of extra little sort of signposts, if you will, for your customers to then go and look further information. So whether it's look for that you'll look at your roadmap, or whether it's just actually reach out to your support team. So let me just show you this example that we have on the screen here. This is for Help Shelf, our site within the Help Shelf itself. So it's telling us how many interactions we've had on our widget over time, what sort of content people are looking at, what is the most popular. So probably no surprise that the majority of ours by a mile are looking at how to install the Help Shelf widget. We can even look at failed searches. Obviously we've got some, how can that many people have done that 24 times? Okay, someone's obviously testing the system there.
Is that your default, test search?
Yeah, quite clearly, yes. And someone's talking about that, or the spam bots. So let's just show you what is, before we go into actually some of the things you can do with it, what is the actual Help Shelf widget and how does it help the customer? Because remember, we're trying to create this culture within our companies where we are focusing on and optimizing around the customer's needs, not necessarily just yours, although we do obviously help you guys from a company standpoint as well. Of course, this widget down here lives on your site once you install it. And this is your Help Center. This is what Help Shelf is all about. And so we combine a bunch of things here, and it customizes itself based on, you know, what it is that you're actually adding to your widget. But what we have here straight off the bat is some popular resources, pardon me. So this is ranking based on those that actually are popular. So if you look at the report that I'm able to see here, these are the popular ones. We're actually seeing those ones here as well. So we dynamically update the widgets. We're making those things available. We'll also do that on a per page by page basis. So if we see that, you know, more people are clicking you know, how do you price your product on the pricing page, then that is the content that will bubble to the top on the pricing page. So we make it real dynamic on a page by page basis. Again, what we're trying to do here is surface the right content to your customers at the time at which they need it, because that's important, right? For the reasons I gave before. And so we've got the popular resources there. They've got access to the entire library of content. So if I'm not sure what we've got in here, but let's just type widgets. I know we've got one there. They can search for all these different things here, and they can do a search and find all that content. And we've then got some call to actions here as well. And you can decide what these might be for you. So going to sort of Linda's sort of side of things, where she's a bit more strict with it. She doesn't necessarily want a chat widget. Some people might not want contact at all. They might just want the content. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I think it's good to have contact as an option.
I can see this from a Media Connections point of view, how to submit your release, how to send a call out for the journalists, all of that sort of stuff. Because my biggest problem with providing a help widget has been separating the journo and the membership content, but I can see it really working.
Cool. Yeah, no, good point. And you can do that. And soon you'll be able to even decide whether you want to have specific content showing for visitors, so those who are not logged into your site, versus those that are logged in. So there's lots of other things you can do there. So in our case, we've decided that a roadmap, because ours is a software product and people often like to see, what are you building next? What is the next feature? So we have that available there. Again, quite often customers are simply looking to see whether a feature is something that you're planning to do. And so making that available there is one more reason why they might not click contact. Again, we're not trying to hide the contact button. You'll see that it's just as prominent as this, and it is one of the most prominent buttons on here. But we're just trying to make sure that the very first thing that people don't do is click the support widget button there, and the first thing they see is a chat window. As we said, it's counterintuitive. It's not necessarily the first thing that the customer wants to do, and yet that's the thing we're giving them. So for us, we do use Intercom for our support chatting and support tickets and everything else. And so that's what I've connected to our contact button here. So when I click that, it takes us into Intercom, and so we're not changing the environment that either you or the team is used to or your customers are used to. They're taken into exactly the same situation, but what we're doing is we're creating a front cover to that. We're creating an interface that gives the customer the power, the control to actually make that informed decision. Do they want to integrate and engage with your content, or do they want to actually then formally reach out, if you will, and contact you? And we've seen, a massive reduction in the overall percentage of those that actually end up submitting a ticket, and therefore a much greater percentage of those that are searching through, clicking, opening, and engaging with your content.
And that improves productivity.
Exactly. And it just creates happy customers, more empowered customers. They know the information now, they have the information, and a reduced support team. So that's what it looks like. That's kind of what a Help Shelf widget looks like. Let's just go through a quick example on this screen here. I've created an empty company, and we're just going to configure a couple of things just to show you, some of the things that you can do. Really straightforward. I'll skim through this nice and quickly, but let's just go to the setup screen here, and we've got a few leading questions. So the first one, if you start using this product, is asking you, how do you want people to contact you? Again, we've spoken about this before. Do you want to have a live chat situation? Do you want to have, and there's lots of different options here. So let's click here, and in our case, let's, we are set up with Intercom, but we have, as you'll see here, a large selection of support integrations or help desk integrations that we work with, and we're adding new ones all the time. So these, I suppose the point here is that Help Shelf's job is not to create yet another chat widget. Our job is not to here to create yet another knowledge base. We're actually here to actually help you connect those providers and solutions that you're already using but just wrap them up in a way that is just much more deliverable for your customer. So choose what it is that you want to do here. Now you'll notice a few brands that you recognize, hopefully. But you'll also recognize a couple of extra ones which aren't brands, which are just different ways of doing it. So email, for example, we can go email, put an email in an email address, and we will then, well, let's have a look at how that looks. So I just do Ben at top shelf. Can't type.
It's okay. It's close to 3 a.m.
Okay, so we've now selected email as that. So when we click here, click content. This is on my local machine here, so I'm just building this locally. So it's the quickest way for us to actually see this live widget change as I change the things here. So this is now different from the one we were looking at a minute ago. There is no content in here yet, so that's why it's empty. Obviously, we wouldn't advise that you put this on your site until you have content in there, but I'm just showing you it step by step to show you how it evolves as a widget as you start customizing it. So all we've done for now is add the email button. So I click the contact, and now it takes me to a nice little support thing, and I can say, "Ooh, hello, can you help me?"
Oh, straight away, so it's email, but email inside the widget. That's awesome.
Exactly. So we control that, nice and easy. That's done, and that then goes off to you as the company. And so in Linda's case, this would be the sort of thing that she would want to use. She doesn't want she wants an email, and you can offer that straight away should you need to. Another one we have, which is just just to sort of touch on the non sort of brand ones, I suppose, is a custom URL. And this is just great if there's literally a URL. So although you wouldn't do Google because that would be a silly thing to do, you can just have it be a
contact form.
Put in the URL there. It can be anything. Yeah. So if you have an existing contact form, exactly, Linda, on your site, and you just like it because it has a map of your company and it has a little testimonial, or and maybe it asks a few extra questions that obviously we aren't going to ask on our little embedded email form there. You might want to ask them, do you have a budget or whatever it might be. That's fine. You can send them to theirs, and so it works with that. But the majority of companies do use, and don't worry if you're not, there's no right or wrong answer. The majority of companies do tend to use one of these widgets here, whether it's Facebook Messenger or Intercom, Drift, anything in between. So I'm going to just set up with Intercom here. On our live site, we have a little, I'll just show you this very, very quickly. Just to allay any concerns here. When you add something, you will see that we always have a link here that shows you a user guide for every single integration so that you can find the information that you need. I'm running this locally on my machine, so we don't have the user guides on this machine. So that's why we don't have that there. But don't worry, if you don't know where this code is found, we provide user guides for every single integration, so you know where to find it. But this is the one that I need for Intercom, so I'm going to do that. And just like before, it's now changed how this behaves. So now when I click that, it opens up Intercom. So again, you're able to use the tools that you already use. So that was the first question. How do you want people to contact you? I've just done that. Coming soon in an update is the ability to add multiple ways. So if you can imagine, if you are using a chatbot, or you have a chatbot through Drift or something, but then you also have Intercom for more sort of ticketing or Zendesk or just an email form like Linda, we'll soon be able to let you add multiple contact options and then decide when those should kick in. So you might, for example, there's lots of different ways of slicing this, but you might say, okay, during my office hours, I want a live chat thing. I know we've spoken about it before, but this is actually encouraging you to be responsible with it. When are you able to give live chats? So you might say, right, between these hours, Intercom is the thing that I want to have available as my contact button here. But actually, after office hours or over the weekends, I want that to open up my Drift chatbot or some other chatbot or just go to a contact form so you'll be able to do that as additional multiple contact options very, very soon. The next question is, where does your product content live? And this does presuppose that you have product content. I hope you do. If you don't, we also help make it a little bit easier for you through here as well. But that is a kind of a key question. We get, I gave a few examples before where most businesses, even if you think you don't have content, you probably do. If you just think about, okay, we've got FAQ items on our pricing page. We've got probably a few user guides somewhere else. We've got maybe a blog post or two talking about a new pricing change or a new feature or something that is, talking about the product or some information that people might need about it. And possibly some webinar recordings on Vimeo or YouTube or a product demo walkthrough or something like that. So hopefully we all have, we can all think of various places where those might live. And so what we're not trying to get you to do is to say, stop using those tools, bring them all over here. We're saying, no, continue using those because there are some brilliant video hosting platforms out there. There are some amazing knowledge-based platforms. Your blog post, so your blog more specifically, is probably a great place for you to continue writing about those strategic changes you've made to a product or to your pricing plan or to your service offering or whatever it might be. Continue using those. But now we're going to ask you, tell us where those are, and then we'll keep them in sync and make them available. So we can click add content source. We've got a bunch of integrations here, and we are just like with the help or the help desk options, adding new all the time. So you might look at, say, Help Docs, which if you haven't come across them, wonderful team and product, and it's basically just a knowledge base platform. And again, we provide a link for you to find this, but I've just pasted it for brevity. So this is my API key for Help Docs, so I've now added them here. But I might also have YouTube, for example. You could have an RSS feed, so this is where you can link your blog, and we'll keep that in sync. Decide where your content lives. And then we will keep it in sync. And so we just pop it in there, and the system will then keep that in sync. And every day we'll check to see whether you have any new content in there. And so if I just refresh my page now, just to see if anything new to come in. Perfect. So we have 90 content items have come in now. Oh, wow. And we'll look at those in a minute. So it's found 90 articles, which is fantastic. We'll look at that in a minute, but let's just quickly skim through here. Do you have a public roadmap? Only really pertinent, really, if you have software products, but you might have roadmap for your service as well. So let's just put in a custom URL. Again, just being intentionally, God, I can't type it in the morning. You know what I mean. So we have a roadmap there.
We've got the general feeling. Yep.
Yeah, you get the gist. So now it's added the roadmap here, and now you can see actually it pulled in all of my content. So this is now nicely. This is becoming a nice now populated widget here that people can actually start searching.
And for our members who are using Missing Letter, this is what you're seeing on Missing Letter. So
yes, indeed. Yes. So if you use Missing Letter, you'll see us using that. We eat our own dog food. So now we see it really nicely. We have a few default settings, which you can change elsewhere. You can maybe add a logo if you want your logo showing up here. The default is that. Blah, blah, blah. And then we have the all-important, just save that, the all-important widget installed. So you can do that there. I won't go into this, a bit out of scope for what we're doing now, but you get the gist. And just before we look at the content, there's more controls that we can do to the widget itself. So you might want to just put your own color in there and do other things. And now we're in the design mode. We can do a few things like let's just change the color, for example. Let's do a
Ben knows he's talking to me when he says you can now change the colors and brand it.
So change the widget color there, the buttons, you can do all sorts of things there, which is nice. Lots of things. Put the widget on the right or the left. You can change the language. So we have different languages here, and we're adding new all the time. If you don't see a language, let me know. We can usually add it within 24 hours. Wow. So lots of different bits and bobs. We can change the content that appears, the text that appears up there. Have one message that appears for logged in users and another one for your visitors. So you can decide, get it, to feel and look like your own. And I just want to touch on now content itself, and just this last 2 or 3 minutes will just be on content. So here is the articles that we've pulled in. If you don't have a provider that we have connection for right now, you can just add a manual article with the URL, and then we'll keep it in sync. So we'll scrape it and keep it in sync, which is really great if you just have that obscure page on your site that isn't accessible through a sitemap or a RSS feed or anything else. And you just want to add it there, that's great. And we were talking before about one of the things that we can do, or one of the habits that is healthy to form, this idea of FAQs, and just getting into the habit of just adding them really, really quickly. And so what we've built here is along with all of those various content integrations that you can link, also just recognizing that sometimes you just want to add a really simple FAQ, and you don't need to go to a knowledge-based provider to do that. You don't want to write a blog post on it. So the traditional places that you might have gone don't always make sense anymore. And so we've built this lightweight FAQ builder that you can just really, really straightforward. How we price, just add it here, add some content, whatever that might be. And you just really, really basically get into the habit of adding these questions as you engage with your customers, and that content then becomes searchable in here for you guys or for the customers to then find, and it really builds this healthy habit. And again, just like we were talking before, where as far as Help Shelf is concerned, it's just one of many pieces of content that you have available. So in this example, we have now 91 pieces of content, 90 articles and 1 FAQ items. The benefit of that is that you can then either pin FAQ items or articles to the pricing page, or you can let our algorithms detect the most popular ones over time and then let those bubble to the top. So really, really powerful. And announcements is really powerful as well. And we were talking before about getting to the habit of publishing announcements when something announcement worthy happens. So just like the FAQ, create a title here. And I obviously can't spell at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, we'll just roll with that.
Decide, do we want this to go live for do we want to go live? Is it just for visitors and users, or is it for visitors and one or the other, or visitors and users? So if you're announcing something, it might be something that you don't want your new customers or your visitors who haven't signed up yet to know about for whatever reason, or the flip side. So let's just create that there, and then what we'll do is just see how that looks, because this announcement facility is a really great way to show that you are engaged as a company and everything else. So now let's look at what happens the next time we go to the site. It pops up a nice little announcement here. Ooh. In glance mode that shows you the title.
Okay, Ben, you might have finally convinced me a pop-up is a good thing.
Yes, but all contained. So this is kind of the whole point. So I did,
it's restrained, it's controlled. I like it.
Exactly. Life is full of, hypocrisy and double meanings and everything. But yes, for everything I've said, we are a widget and we're another one and everything else. But the whole point of Help Shelf is that we're trying to have this be the single point of truth, and then all of your other, various widgets, Messenger, roadmaps, announcements, all live within there, so that you actually create a slightly more cohesive experience. So here is an announcement. We can click that there and just have a look at it in full. We can vote it up and down, just to see how your customers are engaging with it. Do they actually like the content in the first place? Which is quite a nice thing to do, just to sort of understand whether they like it. And we then keep that in sync. So if I now refresh this page, this should go to a lovely one. Let's just have a look.
It's taking its time. There we go. Woo!
Actually see how many people have clicked and engaged with your content. Really, really great if you're launching new things and you just want to see, if you've got a membership of 2,000 users or many, many more, to actually see that, hey, 500 people have clicked and read that thing that we've just announced. Really, really powerful. So that is it. That's gone on a bit longer than I'd hoped. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Waffled too much. But from start to finish, hopefully you've seen what you can do with it. But really, even if you don't use Help Shelf, and I say this all the time with my Missing Letter presentations as well. Even if you don't use Missing Letter, I'm talking because I want to encourage people to really think about how they share their blog posts and how they promote it. And it's the same thing here. Really think about how you are delivering your help content and whether it's serving your customers and helping them find the content. Because if you're helping them, you're helping you as a business by reducing that overall load and everything else. So I hope it's at least sparked some thoughts in that area. And hey, if you decide to use us, I think we've got a great solution that we can help you in these areas. But really get the thought process thought out, and the strategy behind it and the reasons behind it solved first, and then everything else will click in from that point forwards.
Now, guys, Ben has given us the option. If he can give me back the host thing at the moment, I'll be able to give you.
Oh God, how do I do that?
It should give you a little thing on screen that says, I want the host control back. Can't minimize. Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, I might not. No,
it doesn't matter. Okay,
right.
So what I will do is I'll pop it in the replay link. I'll pop it inside the BBB group. It's already on the live stream. Ben has given us a very special link as a business community for you to get 50% off the first 3 months for your use of Help Shelf. This is going to be a tool that I definitely investigate. And I'm sure there's some members in my team who've been going, she's been resisting pop-ups for so damn long. Thank you, Ben. Look, I love a good newsletter pop-up and I love building a list that way, but I really have not wanted to put pop-ups into providing information and support from a support point of view until I knew we could control and we could maintain it. So what Help Shelf has shown me this morning is that we can do it. We could do it, and we could do it in a way that we're doing it while still servicing our journalists, while servicing our community, and while running the sideline of BBB in amongst all of those sorts of things. And I know that that's part of my hesitation of doing it is our group is so busy and takes so much of my girls' time outside of our support that it's a case of how much do we overload those people that are working in our businesses. And what I saw this allows me to do today is not overload my team. And that is most probably the biggest thing. So yay, congratulations, Ben, on solving another one of my problems.
Fantastic.
I love that he solved this. Yes. Now I've got to go jump on a train and go to Melbourne, so I'm not going to be able to go look at this for a while. I have to look at it after I get back in June. So if when I sign up properly, I will sign up properly in June. Okay, guys, for those of you who are joining us, we have got more skills webinars next week. Our next week's webinar is with Anne-Marie Cross, all about using podcasts to build your influence, both as an attendee and a host. So you go ahead to the skills page and register for that. That's business.com.au/skills. Ben, thank you once again for joining us at a ridiculous hour.
My pleasure.
I have had a thoroughly great tour of Help Shelf, and look, I was resistant, sitting here with my arms crossed going, no, I don't want to do it. So maybe I do want to do it. So that has been really good. And for you, for those of members in the replay, please check out the Help Shelf link, and I will send some details out over the next little while. The replay won't get up today, guys. I am literally on the train to Melbourne, and we'll process the replay hopefully sometime tomorrow. But got a book launch to attend tonight. So congratulations, Karen, on your book launch.
Lovely.
Okay, guys, have a great night. Thanks, have a great day. We'll see you all again soon. And look forward to seeing you around. Bye.
Pleasure. Take care. Cheers, guys.